Robert Louis Stevenson. Treasure Island. Chapter 21. The Attack. As soon as Silver went away, the captain, who had been watching him very closely, turned to the inside of the house. He saw that only Gray was at his place. All the others had left their posts. It was the first time we had ever seen him angry. "Quarters!" he shouted loudly. Then, when we all slowly went back to our places, he said, "Gray, I will write your name in the log. You did your duty like a true sailor. Mr. Trelawney, I am surprised at you, sir. Doctor, I thought you had worn the king's coat. If you served like this at Fontenoy, sir, you would have been better in your bed." The doctor's men were all back at their shooting holes, and the others were busy loading the extra muskets. Everyone had a red face, that is sure, and felt ashamed, as people say. The captain watched for a while in silence. Then he spoke. "My lads," he said, "I have spoken strongly to Silver. I did it on purpose, and before an hour passes, as he said, they will attack us. We are fewer than they are, I do not need to tell you that. But we fight under cover, and a moment ago I would have said we fight with discipline. I have no doubt that we can beat them, if you want to." Then he walked around and checked that everything was ready. On the two short sides of the house, east and west, there were only 2 shooting holes. On the south side, where the porch was, there were 2 more. And on the north side, there were 5. There were about 20 muskets for the 7 of us. The firewood was made into 4 piles, like tables, one near the middle of each side. On each of these tables there was some ammunition and 4 loaded muskets ready for the defenders. In the middle, the cutlasses were laid out in a row. "Throw out the fire," said the captain. "It is no longer cold, and we must not have smoke in our eyes." Mr. Trelawney carried the iron fire basket outside, and the hot coals were covered with sand. "Hawkins has not had his breakfast. Hawkins, help yourself, and go back to your place to eat it," continued Captain Smollett. "Quickly now, my lad. You will need it before you finish. Hunter, give a round of brandy to everyone." And while this was happening, the captain finished the plan of defense in his mind. "Doctor, you will take the door," he continued. "Be careful and do not show yourself. Stay inside and shoot through the porch. Hunter, take the east side. Joyce, you stand by the west side, my man. Mr. Trelawney, you are the best shot. You and Gray will take this long north side with the 5 shooting holes. The danger is there. If they get close and shoot at us through our own holes, things will start to look bad. Hawkins, you and I are not very good at shooting. We will stay ready to load the guns and help." As the captain had said, it was no longer cold. As soon as the sun rose above the ring of trees around us, it shone strongly on the open ground and quickly dried the mist. Soon the sand became very hot, and the resin in the logs of the blockhouse began to melt. Jackets and coats were thrown off. Shirts were opened at the neck and rolled up to the shoulders. We stood there at our places, feeling very hot and also very nervous. An hour passed. "Hang them," said the captain. "This is as boring as calm weather at sea. Gray, whistle for some wind." And just at that moment came the first sign of the attack. "If you please, sir," said Joyce, "if I see anyone, should I shoot?" "I told you so," cried the captain. "Thank you, sir," answered Joyce in the same calm and polite way. Nothing happened for a while, but his question made us all very alert. We listened and watched carefully. The men with muskets held their guns ready in their hands. The captain stood in the middle of the blockhouse, his mouth tight and his face serious. A few seconds passed like this. Then suddenly, Joyce raised his musket and fired. The sound of his shot had hardly ended when many shots came from outside. They came one after another, like a line of geese, from all sides of the enclosure. Several bullets hit the log house, but none went inside. When the smoke disappeared, the fence and the woods around it looked as quiet and empty as before. No branch moved, and no shining gun showed where the enemies were. "Did you hit your man?" asked the captain. "No, sir," replied Joyce. "I think I did not, sir." "Better to tell the truth," said Captain Smollett quietly. "Load his gun, Hawkins. How many do you think were on your side, Doctor?" "I know exactly," said Dr. Livesey. 3 shots were fired on this side. I saw the 3 flashes, 2 close together and 1 farther to the west. "3," repeated the captain. "And how many on your side, Mr. Trelawney?" But this was not easy to answer. Many shots had come from the north, 7 according to the squire, 8 or 9 according to Gray. From the east and west, only 1 shot had been fired. It was clear that the attack would come from the north, and on the other 3 sides they only wanted to disturb us. But Captain Smollett did not change his plan. If the mutineers managed to cross the fence, he thought they would take any open shooting hole and kill us like rats in our own strong place. We did not have much time to think. Suddenly, with a loud shout, a small group of pirates ran out of the woods on the north side and rushed straight to the fence. At the same time, shooting started again from the woods, and a rifle bullet flew through the doorway and broke the doctor's musket into pieces. The attackers climbed over the fence like monkeys. The squire and Gray fired again and again. 3 men fell. 1 fell forward into the enclosure, and 2 fell outside. But one of them was clearly more frightened than hurt, because he quickly stood up again and ran back into the trees. 2 men were down, 1 had run away, and 4 had got safely inside our defenses. At the same time, from the cover of the woods, 7 or 8 men, each with several muskets, kept shooting at the log house, but without success. The 4 who got inside ran straight towards the building, shouting as they ran. The men in the woods shouted back to encourage them. Several shots were fired, but the shooters were in such a hurry that none of the shots hit anything. In a moment, the 4 pirates had climbed the hill and reached us. The head of Job Anderson, the boatswain, appeared at the middle shooting hole. "Adam, all hands! All hands!" he shouted in a very loud voice. At the same moment, another pirate grabbed Hunter's musket by the front, pulled it out of his hands, dragged it through the hole, and with one strong blow knocked the poor man unconscious on the floor. At the same time, a third pirate, who had run around the house without being hurt, suddenly appeared in the doorway and attacked the doctor with his cutlass. Our situation changed completely. A moment before, we were shooting from cover at an enemy in the open. Now we were in the open and could not fight back. The log house was full of smoke, and this helped to keep us safe. I heard shouts and confusion, flashes and shots from pistols, and one loud groan. "Out, lads, out, and fight them in the open! Cutlasses!" shouted the captain. I grabbed a cutlass from the pile. At the same moment, someone else took another and accidentally cut my knuckles, but I hardly felt it. I ran out of the door into the bright sunlight. Someone was close behind me, but I did not know who. Right in front of me, the doctor was chasing his attacker down the hill. Just as I looked at him, he knocked down the man's defense and struck him hard across the face, sending him to the ground. "Round the house, lads, round the house!" shouted the captain. Even in the noise and confusion, I noticed a change in his voice. Without thinking, I obeyed. I turned to the east and ran around the corner of the house with my cutlass ready. In the next moment, I met Anderson face to face. He shouted loudly, and his sword went up above his head, shining in the sunlight. I had no time to feel afraid, but as his blow was about to fall, I quickly jumped to one side. I slipped in the soft sand and rolled headfirst down the slope. When I first ran out of the door, the other mutineers were already climbing over the fence to finish us. One man, wearing a red nightcap and holding his cutlass in his mouth, had even reached the top and thrown one leg over. But the time was so short that when I stood up again, everything looked almost the same. The man with the red nightcap was still halfway over, and another man was just showing his head above the fence. And yet, in that short moment, the fight was already over, and we had won. Gray, who had come out right behind me, had killed the big bosun before he could recover from his last blow. Another man had been shot at a shooting hole just as he was firing into the house, and now he lay in pain, with the pistol still smoking in his hand. A third man, as I had seen, had been killed by the doctor with one blow. Of the 4 who had climbed over the fence, only one was left. He had dropped his cutlass on the ground and was now climbing back out, afraid for his life. "Fire! Fire from the house!" shouted the doctor. "And you lads, get back under cover!" But no one listened to him. No shot was fired, and the last attacker escaped and ran back into the woods with the others. In 3 seconds, nothing was left of the attacking group except the 5 who had fallen, 4 inside and 1 outside the fence. The doctor, Gray, and I ran quickly back to shelter. The survivors would soon return to their muskets, and shooting could start again at any moment. By this time, most of the smoke had cleared from the house, and we could immediately see the cost of our victory. Hunter lay by his shooting hole, unconscious. Joyce lay by his, shot through the head, and would never move again. And in the middle of the room, the squire was holding the captain, both of them very pale. "The captain is wounded," said Mr. Trelawney. "Have they run away?" asked Mr. Smollett. "All who could have run, I am sure," answered the doctor. "But 5 of them will never run again." "5?" cried the captain. "Well, that is better. 5 against 3 leaves us 4 to 9. That is better than before. At the start, we were 7 against 19, or we thought so, and that was very hard to face." The mutineers soon became only 8 men, because the man shot by Mr. Trelawney on the ship died that same evening from his wound. But of course, we did not know this until later.